Hey, we had an interesting conversation this week, you and I.
Yes, we did.
That stemmed from some stuff I had heard in the garage this week and such, and that is driver weight is a topic in the NASCAR Cup Series. That is going to become a topic, I believe, far more talked about in the next 2 years or so. And that is the idea that with this car being so similar and so equal, and you're looking for such small bits of improvement, one of the areas, this happens in F1 already, where they're super serious about the weight of the driver, how their body build is, because they want the CG as low as possible. This is a topic that's going to start occurring in NASCAR. And if you think about it, they all have the math. In F1, they'll tell you for every pound, it's worth X amount at each track in terms of lap time. All the NASCAR teams are doing that now as well. They'll tell you how much CG is worth, which, if you think about it, if you're a driver who weighs 160 pounds versus a driver that weighs 220 pounds or 200 pounds, you know, that 40 pounds, if it's sitting up in your shoulders, that's very high CG compared to where that other team gets to put the ballast very low.
Real quick, explain to the listeners how driver weight works in NASCAR.
Right. So
just because you're a 160-pound driver doesn't mean you have a 40-pound weight break over a 200-pound driver.
No, so they make us all weigh in. So we all go weigh in, and you get put in basically 10-pound brackets. So 160 to 170, that means the team then has to put that weight in the car to 200, right? Basically, that's the number I think it is. So they have to make up that pounds by putting more ballast in the race car, and that's what NASCAR then weighs the car against, right? So if you weigh 160, they got to put 40 pounds of ballast in there, essentially.
At the end of the day,
yep,
driver and car, all of them weigh the same, in theory.
Yes.
They all weigh the same. So if you have a 200-pound driver, then you have in a 3,000-pound car, so you have a 3,200-pound car.
Yep.
Right? If you have a 100-pound driver, then you have a 3,100-pound car, so that you still have a 3,200-pound race car. That's how the rules work. So the idea is, if you have a 100-pound or 150-pound driver instead of a 200-pound driver, you can take 50 pounds of ballast and put it low in the frame rails of the race car, so that it actually lowers the center of gravity of the car. The 200-pound driver, he can't add ballast in the car, so he has to carry the ballast on his body because he is a 200-pound driver, and that ballast is sitting up. It's sitting in a chair, right? Sitting in the seats, buckled in, and it's moving around. And we have reached a point of parity in this sport that we've never really reached before, where that difference in CG is noticeable in the simulation and potentially on the racetrack. And it equates to a couple hundredths a second a lap.
Yep.
And at a place like Bristol, Parker, man, and Josh, you better get your calculator out and help me with this.
I'm ready to go.
How much distance on a half-mile track, averaging 130 miles an hour, or however fast they average at Bristol, 110 miles an hour, how much distance in a half-mile track is 3/100ths of a second?
Oh, boy.
I can tell you what it is over 100 laps.
What is it over 100 laps?
It's 1.8 seconds.
So it takes 15 seconds, so it's 1/15 of the, or you said 1.8 seconds?
1.8 seconds.
So it's an eighth of a lap.
Yep.
Interesting. Several car lengths.
This is a discussion that is occurring, and if you look at driver size and weights, you will see that there are some that you would say that probably plays to their hand a little bit. And that's why I think this is becoming a topic. And to your point, it's because the parity is so close. We've never had parity this close. There's going to be places that people continue to look for performance. I think this is one that's going to become a topic. And I think Josh asked in our chat, do they weigh after the races? No. So we weigh a couple times during the year normally. Obviously, the start of the year, middle of the year. NASCAR often is, when we started the playoffs last year, they weighed us all right at the start and surprised us all, so we couldn't plan for it, because you will do things as drivers to try and be heavier. I always like to say, when you show up to Daytona, you're the fattest and palest you'll ever be, because you're trying to make a higher weight, maybe get into a higher bracket by 10 pounds or so, and then shed that for sure as you get to the springtime. And I personally have done that every year I've ever been in the sport. So whenever we do those photos, the Getty photos, I'm always like, this is terrible. That this is the photo that's going to live me all year, and I'm by far the fattest by 15 pounds I've ever been. So, but no, it is. I think more so than that, it's just going to become a discussion about, hey, if you have a driver who's on the cusp of maybe they weigh 175, 180, and you're saying, hey, if you can get down to 160, we've done the math, this is what it's worth. That's going to be a discussion. That's going to have to be had. And this happens in F1. I mean, Esteban Ocon is a tall 6'1" F1 driver, I believe, and I think he weighs like 143 pounds. He doesn't do that on purpose. Or, I mean, he doesn't do that by accident. He cannot weigh more. They will not let him, the engineers. That's just the fact. So
it's crazy.
We'll see where this goes, but I think it's definitely going to be a topic. It's pretty fascinating.